Good morning, students. I hope you all are well and safe at your home. So this video is for the students of class 9, subject science. Chapter number 6, that is tissues. It's your lecture number 5. In today's lecture, I would be discussing the summary of the whole chapter. I would be covering all the topics in a nutshell. Let's start. What is a tissue? Tissue is a group of cells that are similar in structure and they work together to perform a specific function. Now the question arises, that is called as tissue. Are plants and animals made up of same type of tissues? So let us consider the differences among the plants and animals. First point, plants, they do not move, means they are stationary or fixed. Whereas animals, they can move. They move from one place to another place in search of food, shelter, etc. Second point or difference is that plants, the growth take place in limited region. Means the growth is there, that is up to certain regions. Whereas in case of animals, the growth, it take place in every part. Now the third point of difference is that plants, they need less energy to survive. Since they are not moving, right? So they need less amount of energy in order to survive. Whereas in case of animals, since they are moving, so they need more amount of energy to survive. So this was the third point of difference between plants and animals. Fourth point is that plants, the most of the tissues are dead. Whereas in case of animals, most of the tissues, they are alive. So based upon the differences between plants and animals, we can classify the tissues into two types. First is plant tissue. Second is animal tissue. Now, first I would be discussing about plant tissues. Later on I would cover animal tissues. So, coming to plant tissues, plants have two types of tissues. What are those? Meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Now first is meristematic tissue. What do you mean by meristematic tissue? In meristematic tissue, the cells, they are able to divide. They are able to divide and they are able to form new cells. So what are meristematic tissues? These are simple living tissues which are capable of division and formation of new cells. Now where this tissue is found? It is present in the growing region of plants. Now again, this meristematic tissue is classified into three types. What are those? Apical meristem, intercalary meristem and lateral meristem. These are the three types of meristematic tissue. Now what is apical meristem? This type of meristem, it is present in growing tips of stems and roots. See the diagram? It is present here at the growing tip of either stem or roots. So what is the function of apical meristem? It increases the length of stem and roots. Okay? You need to learn two things. Number one, location, and number two, function. along with the diagram. Diagram is very necessary. Now coming to second type of meristematic tissue, that is intercalary meristem. Location: it is present at the base of the leaves or internodes. Internodes means on either side of the node, that is on the twigs. So see the diagram. Intercalary meristem is present here at the base of the leaves or at internodes. Now what is the function of intercalary meristem? It increases the length of branches and it also helps in bending movement of twigs. Okay, so the main function is it increases the length of the branches. So this was about intercalary meristem. Now the third is lateral meristem. Where it is found? It occurs along the side of longitudinal axis of the plant. Longitudinal axis means along the side axis. Okay, this is the side axis. This is the longitudinal axis of the plant. So along this axis, the lateral meristem is found. See the diagram? This is lateral meristem, which is present along this side axis of the plant. And this type of meristematic tissue gives rise to vascular tissues. Okay. Now what is the function of lateral meristem? It increases the girth of stem and roots. Girth means width. So it is responsible for increasing the width of the stem or roots. So these were the three types of meristematic tissue. Now second type is permanent tissue. What do you mean by permanent tissue? In this tissue, the cells, they have lost the capability to divide. Means they are not dividing. And in meristematic tissue, they were dividing. So what do you mean by permanent tissue? This tissue is composed of those cells which have lost their capability to divide. They may be dead or living. Now this permanent tissue is classified into two main types. They are simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue. Simple means similar types of cells. So simple permanent tissue is that tissue which is made up of similar types of cells which have common origin and function. Now, what are the types of simple permanent tissue? They are protective tissue and supportive tissue. Under protective tissue, there are three types of tissue: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. And under supportive tissue, there are two supportive tissues which are epidermis and cork. Students, please listen. In your NCERT book, this thing is not given, protective tissue and supportive tissue. Just simple permanent tissue is classified directly into parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. These two things, epidermis and cork, they are written as separate categories. So you can write in that way also. Both the ways are correct. It's your wish. Just keep one thing in mind. If it is asked, name the tissues of simple permanent tissue. So just write parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma instead of writing protective tissue and supportive tissue. Okay. So this was about simple permanent tissue. Now we will study about parenchyma, collenchyma, the cells of this tissue, they are living. Okay. And it consists of thin-walled cells with large intercellular space. See the diagram? the wall is thin. The cell wall is thin. Plus, there is large intercellular space present among the cells. This triangular part, this white part, this triangular. So, this is intercellular space, space present between the cells. Okay, so they have large intercellular space. What is the function of parenchyma? Number one, storage of food. Why? Because they have large vacuoles. So they are serving in the storage of food, minerals, vitamins, etc. Okay. Second function is photosynthesis. Because chlorophyll is present. That's why they are able to function photosynthesis. Third function is buoyancy. In aquatic plants, buoyancy is provided by parenchyma, which help those plants to float. Why? Because they have large air cavities present. These large air cavities are present, and due to the presence of these large air cavities, the aquatic plants, they are able to float. Means they are provided with buoyancy. So it is with the help of which tissue? That is parenchyma. So this was parenchyma tissue. Second is collenchyma tissue. The cells of this tissue, they are living. As in case of parenchyma also it was living. In collenchyma also it is living. Second thing is that it consists of irregularly thickened walls at the corners. Means at the corners the walls, they are thick. Okay. And there is a very little intercellular space. So the intercellular space, you can say it is very little. It is negligible, we can say. But in case of parenchyma, it was very large. Now, what are the functions of collenchyma? Number one, it provides flexibility to the plant parts. Number two, it helps in providing mechanical support. And number three, it allows easy bending in various parts of the plants without breaking. Right? So, the various parts of the plant, they are able to bend. With the help of which tissue? It is due to the presence of collenchyma tissue. The walls are thick at the corners. This is the special feature of this collenchyma. And the third is sclerenchyma tissue. The cells of this tissue, they are dead. The earlier two tissue, they were living. But this tissue, it is dead. And it consists of extremely thick walled cell which is made up of a substance which is called as lignin. Okay. In case of parenchyma, the cell wall was thin. In case of collenchyma, it was thick but at the corners only. But in case of sclerenchyma, the whole wall is thick. And it is made up of which substance? Lignin. Okay, that is acting as a cement. Now, they have no intercellular space. Okay, the intercellular space in this kind of tissue, it is absent. Example, husk of coconut. Okay, the husk of coconut is made up of sclerenchyma tissue. It comes in one mark also. Which tissue constitutes the husk of coconut? So the answer is sclerenchyma tissue. Now, what are the functions of sclerenchyma tissue? Number one, it provides strength to the plant parts. Number two, it makes it hard and tough. Okay. Because it was dead, so it is involved in providing strength as well as it makes it hard and tough due to the presence of lignin. Okay, so this about. Now, apart from these, there are two supportive tissues present in the plant tissue, that is epidermis and cork. Now, what is epidermis? Epidermis is the outermost layer that consists of single layer of cells which are flat with no intercellular space. Okay, if you take any cell, the outermost layer of that cell, that is called as epidermis. Okay, and it is only single layer. And in that single layer, the cells, they are flat and they are compactly arranged such that there is no intercellular space present. Okay, so this is epidermis. In case of desert plants, for example cactus, the epidermis, they secrete a thick waxy coating that is called as cuticle. Okay, that thick waxy coating, it is called as cuticle, which is acting as a waterproof layer. Okay, means this layer, it is resistant to water. Third point is that epidermis of the root. The roots also have cells, and the cells, they have outermost covering called as epidermis. So that epidermis of root, they have long hairs. And what is the function of these long hairs? They help in increasing the surface area for the absorption of water. Okay, so this was the function of the long hairs which is present on the epidermis of the roots. Now if I consider epidermis of the leaf, they have small pores. Pores means hole. So they have small pores on its surface. And what these pores are called as? These pores are called as stomata. And these are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells which are called as guard cells. See the diagram, this is the leaf and this is the epidermis of the leaf. Now you can see there are small pores which are present on the epidermis of the leaf, right? So these small pores, they are called as stomata. Okay, you can see a broad view. I have shown two cases, stomata open and stomata closed. In the first case, the stomata is open, and in the second case, the stomata is closed. Now these kidney-shaped cells are present. They are enclosing the stomata, right? So what is the name of these kidney-shaped cells? These are called as guard cells, which are enclosing this stomata. Okay. So what is the function of stomata? Basically, stomata have two functions. Number one, exchange of gases. Number two, transpiration. So these two functions, they are carried by stomata. So overall, what is the function of epidermis? Number one, it protects the plant from desiccation and infection. Desiccation means from getting dried. Okay, so it is protecting the plant from getting dried, and it also protecting the plant from getting infection like parasitic fungi. Okay, second function and third function are being written for stomata, because stomata, they are present on epidermis. So that's why we have included the function of stomata as a function of epidermis. One in the same thing. So what is the function of stomata? It allows a gaseous exchange during the process of photosynthesis. Second function is that stomata also helps in transpiration. What is transpiration? Loss of water in the form of water vapors. That process is called as transpiration, and this process or this phenomenon, it is carried by stomata, which are present on the epidermis of the leaf. Second supportive tissue after epidermis, it is cork. What is cork? You might have seen a tree, right? That brown part of the tree, that is actually made up of cork. So what is cork? It consists of dead cells with thick walls, and they do not have intercellular space. Okay, the cells are dead, the cell wall are thick, and they do not have any intercellular space. The space among the cell, it is negligible or it is absent. Okay. Now the cell wall is thick, right? So this cell wall, it deposits a waxy substance that is called as suberin. So their cell wall, it is depositing a waxy substance which is named as suberin. Now what is the function of suberin? It makes the cell wall impervious to gases and water. Impervious means impermeable, means passage. So it does not allow the gases and water to pass. So the wall becomes impermeable to gases and water due to the presence of suberin in them. Okay, so this was about cork. Now what is the function of cork? It protects the plant from infection or mechanical injury. Second function, it is a shock absorber acting as an insulator for the plants. Third, it provides toughness to the plants. Why? Because the cells are dead, right? So it is hard in nature. The cork is hard in nature, so it is providing toughness to the plants. And the last function is that cork is used in making sports goods like cricket ball, table tennis, wooden paddles. Okay? You might have seen a cricket ball or a table tennis. It is generally made up of cork. Okay? So this was about plant tissue. Simple permanent tissue. Now complex permanent tissue. It is made up of more than one type of cell which have common origin and function. Now there are two types of complex permanent tissue. Number one, xylem. Number two, phloem. Xylem, it conducts water and minerals from the roots to the top of the plant. Okay, and it has four kind of cells. What are those? Tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. Xylem tracheids and xylem vessels, they are dead and they are tubular structures. And they help in conduction of water and minerals vertically upward. Means from the roots to the top of the plant. Xylem fibers, they are dead cells that is involved in providing mechanical support to the plant body. And xylem parenchyma, it consists of living cells that stores food. Okay, so out of all of these, all are dead except xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma, it consists of living cells. Okay. Now next is phloem. It is responsible for transporting food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Means in xylem, the flow was unidirectional. But in case of phloem, the flow is bidirectional. Okay. Now again, similar to xylem, phloem, it also consists of four kinds of cells. What are those? Sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes, they are living cells with perforated walls. Companion cells, they are also living cells. Phloem fibers, they are dead cells, and phloem parenchyma, they are living cells. Okay. Out of all, only one is dead, that is phloem fiber. And in case of xylem, all were dead, only xylem parenchyma was living. Okay, this is the difference between the xylem and phloem. So I discussed about plant tissue. Plant tissue is divided into meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. The meristematic tissue is classified into apical, intercalary and lateral, and permanent tissue is divided into simple and complex. Simple is again classified into parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. The epidermis and cork, they are supportive tissues that have not been given a special category here. So it's your wish, I told you earlier also. Complex is divided into xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem, they are again divided into four elements. Okay, so you have to learn this plant tissue. So this was about plant tissue. Now let's come with the animal tissues. The animals have four types of tissues. What they are? Epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. So these are the four types of animal tissue. The first is epithelial tissue. The covering or the protective tissue in the animal body, they are epithelial tissue. Okay, it forms the covering as well as the protective layer of a animal body. So this constitutes the epithelial tissue. And this tissue, it covers most of the organs and cavities within the body. Okay. Now what about the cells? The cells, they are tightly packed and they form a continuous sheet. Okay. The cells, they are so tightly packed that the intercellular space between the cells, they become negligible and as a result they form a continuous sheet. Now epithelia, they play a very important role in regulating the exchange of materials within the body and external environment and also different parts of the body. Okay, means the exchange of the materials, it takes place with now the help types of epithelial tissue. So this first was about squamous epithelium tissue. The cells, they are thin and flat and they are arranged end to end like the tiles on the floor. You can see from the picture that the cells, they are very flat in nature and they are arranged in such a way like the tiles on the floor. The epithelial cells, they are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear in the skin. Squamous epithelium, it forms skin, lining of the cavities like mouth, esophagus, etc. Okay, so this is the location where the squamous epithelium is found. It is basically found in the skin. Second type of epithelial tissue is stratified epithelium tissue. When the squamous epithelium tissue, they are arranged in layers like one above the another, it gives rise to stratified epithelium tissue. Okay, so it consists of squamous epithelial tissue arranged in layers. Now where it is found? It forms the surface of the skin, similar to the squamous epithelium. So this was the diagram. Third type of tissue is columnar epithelium tissue. Columnar means column-like or pillar-like structure. You can see the diagram. It is forming pillar-like structure. So this is columnar epithelium tissue which forms the lining of the stomach. It also forms small intestine, large intestine, etc. Okay. Now this columnar epithelium tissue is again divided into ciliated and glandular epithelium tissue. Ciliated epithelium means which has cilia, which increases the surface area for the absorption, and glandular epithelium means which secretes oil, sweat, enzymes and hormones. Now the fourth and the last type of epithelial tissue is cuboidal epithelium tissue. Cuboidal means cube-like. So the cells of this tissue, they are cube in shape. See the diagram? They are forming cube-like structures. And this type of epithelium tissue, it is found in kidney and in salivary glands. It also provides mechanical support. So these were the four types of epithelium tissue. Now come to connective tissue. The second type of animal tissue, that is connective tissue. The cells of this tissue, they are loosely packed. Loosely packed means they have very large intercellular space between the cells. Now what are the types of connective tissue? There are four types of connective tissue: areolar connective tissue, adipose connective tissue, skeletal connective tissue and fluid connective tissue. Now what is areolar connective tissue? It is generally called as packaging tissue. Why? Because it fills the space inside the organs. Okay? It is responsible for filling the space inside the organs. So that's why this areolar tissue is also called as packaging tissue. Now where it is found? It is found between the skin, muscles, around the blood vessels, nerve cells and in the bone marrow. Okay, there it is filling the space. Now this areolar tissue is divided into tendons and ligaments. So you need to learn the differences between them. Tendons, it connects muscles to bones, whereas ligaments, it connects one bone to another bone. Tendon is tough and non-elastic and ligament is strong and elastic. So this generally one question arises, write the differences between tendons and ligaments. Second is adipose tissue. Adipose is related to storage of fat. Okay, so that's why it is a fat storing connective tissue. And it acts as an insulator because it is storing fat and it prevents the loss of heat from the body. Now where it is found? This adipose tissue is found below the skin, around the heart, brain and below the eyeballs. This adipose tissue is found. The third type of connective tissue is skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue means the tissue which forms the skeletal system. And the skeletal system, you know that they contains bone and cartilage. So you must learn the difference between bone and cartilage. Generally one question arises from this part. Bone is hard and tough where cartilage is soft. Bone is made up of calcium and phosphorus, whereas cartilage is made up of protein and sugar. Bones have rich blood supply and cartilage they do not have rich blood supply. Examples of bone like hand, limbs, neck, etc. And examples of cartilage, tip of the nose, lower part of the ear. They are cartilage. So this was about the skeletal tissue or the differences between the bones and cartilages. Now the last type of connective tissue is fluid connective tissue. And under this fluid connective tissue, blood and lymph come in the category. So what is blood? You are familiar with this word blood. Blood is a containing a fluid matrix. Matrix means fluid. So it contains a fluid matrix which is called as plasma. That liquid part of the blood, it is called as plasma, in which RBCs, WBCs, platelets, they are suspended, means they are immersed. Along with these materials, the plasma of the blood, it also contains proteins, salt and hormones. So this was about blood, that is fluid connective tissue. Now coming to third type of animal tissue, that is muscular tissue. You know that with the help of muscular tissue, movement happens in our body. We are able to move our face, we are able to move our neck, diaphragm. It is only possible through the presence of this muscular tissue only. This muscular tissue is capable of contraction as well as relaxation. Okay. Now this muscular tissue is again divided into three categories, or we can say the three types of muscle fibers. What are those three types? Skeletal muscle fibers, smooth muscle fibers and cardiac muscle fibers. So what are skeletal muscle fibers? They are long, cylindrical, unbranched and multinucleated, and they occur in bundles. Okay, you can see the diagram. The multinucleated means they have many nucleus. So they are having many nucleus, that's why they are multinucleated. Now where this muscle is found? It is found in the limbs, face, neck and diaphragm. Now the question arises, why the skeletal muscles are named so? They are called as skeletal muscles because they are attached to the bones and they help in movement. That's why they are called as skeletal muscles. What is the another name of skeletal muscles? It is striated muscles or voluntary muscles. What are striated muscles? Which have alternate dark and light bands. See the diagram? They have dark band, then light band, then again dark band, then again light band. So they have an alternate sequence of dark and light bands. That's why the skeletal muscles, they are called as striated muscles. They are also called as voluntary muscles. Why? Because they are under our control. They work under the will of organism. So that's why these skeletal muscles, they are also called as striated muscles or voluntary muscles. So this was about skeletal muscles. Now coming to smooth muscles. The cells of these muscle fibers, they are spindle shaped with pointed ends and they are uninucleated. See the diagram? They are spindle shaped and their ends are pointed. Plus they are uninucleated, means they have only one nucleus per fiber. So that is smooth muscle fiber. Now where they are found? They are found in the iris of the eye, ureter, alimentary canal, blood vessels. What is the other name of smooth muscles? They are also called as unstriated muscles because they do not have alternate dark and light bands. They are also called as involuntary muscles because they do not work under the will of organism. So this was about smooth muscles. Now the third type is cardiac muscles. The cells of the cardiac muscles, they are cylindrical, branched and uninucleate. See the diagram? They are cylindrical in shape, they are branched, branches are arising and they are uninucleate, means only one nucleus is present per muscle fiber. And where they are found? They are found in the walls of heart only. Remember, cardiac is related to heart. So that's why the location is on the wall of heart only. Okay. The muscles of the heart, they show rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout the life and that's why they never get fatigue. Okay, they never get tired. You know, our heart keeps on beating, it never gets tired. So this is only due to cardiac muscle presence. And these are involuntary in nature. Why? Because they are not under our control. They work of its own. That's why they are involuntary in nature. So this was about the three types of skeletal muscles. You must learn the differences along with the diagrams. This is very important topic. Now the last topic of this chapter is nervous tissue. The cells of this tissue, they are called as nerve cells or neurons. Okay, you know that tissue is made up of cells, right? So similarly, nervous tissue is also made up of cells, and what those cells are called? Those cells, they are called as nerve cells or neuron. Now what is the structure of neuron? Let us study. Neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasm. Okay, it contains a cell body in which nucleus and cytoplasm are present, from which long thin hair like parts arise. Okay, along with this cell body, it has a long single part that is called as axon. Axon is the single long part, and they have many short branches. What those short branch parts are called? They are called as dendrites. So this is the structure of neuron. You can see from the diagram, this is neuron or the nerve cell. This is cell body. Inside the cell body, there is a nucleus which is present at the center of the nerve cell. Around the nucleus, there is cytoplasm. These are dendrites which are arising from the cell body. This is a single long part which is called as axon, and at the end of these axon there are endings which are called as nerve endings. Okay, so this is about one neuron, one nerve cell. So various nerve cells, they join together and they form nervous tissue. Okay, so this is a very important topic, the diagram of nerve cell. You need to label it. So this was about the whole chapter, plant tissue and animal tissues. So now students, I would be discussing the homework solutions of lecture number 4. Question number 1, name the tissue responsible for the movement in your body. The answer is muscular tissue. Question number 2, what does a neuron look like? Answer, you have to write about the structure of neuron. A neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasm from which long thin hair-like parts arise. Each neuron has a single long part which is called as axon and many more small short branches which are called as dendrites. An individual nerve cell is called as neuron. It may be up to a meter long. Question number 3. Give 3 features of cardiac muscles. Answer. You have to write about the features. The features of cardiac muscles are, they are cylindrical branch and uninucleated. They are striated muscle fibers. They are involuntary in nature, means they cannot be controlled by us. So these are the features of the cardiac muscles. Fourth, what is the specific function of the cardiac muscles? Answer, they are cylindrical branch and uninucleated. They are involuntary muscles. They show rhythmically contraction and relaxation throughout their life, and that's why they never get fatigue. The rhythmic contraction and relaxation helps in pumping action of the heart. So this was about the specific function of the cardiac muscles. Rest questions you can do yourselves. They were direct questions. I am not discussing those questions again. So this was about the whole chapter, that is tissues. I hope you all have understood this chapter carefully. Thank you, class.